All too often, companies focus on novelty for novelty's sake and launch so-called innovations that have no market and no value. Well, that's according to my next guest from EPFl, l'École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne in Switzerland. He says managers need to be taught how to harness innovation, and that's the special focus of their MBA program. Well, let's now meet Professor Christopher Tucci, Chair of Corporate Strategy and Innovation and Dean of the College of Management of Technology at EPFl. I'm Sarah Lockett. Welcome to the Business Debate. Professor Tucci, Chris, welcome to the London Stock Exchange studios.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Okay, so some products that their inventors thought were going to revolutionise the market, they do fail, but don't big companies mainly get it right?
Yes and no. I mean, big companies have the advantage of being able to become fast followers, but sooner or later they need to do something. And there are lots of examples of cases where big companies didn't get it right. Google has a bunch like Google Glass. You think about Iridium, which was a spin-off of Motorola. So there are lots of cases where big companies weren't exactly at the forefront of successful innovations.
So the process of bringing in an innovation or an invention, you say managers really have to be taught how to do that. What do you mean by that?
I think when you fall back on your intuition, you fall back on things that you did in the past. So as long as a new product or service is completely consistent with what the company's done in the past, that's great. If you need to change something with a new business model or new technology, then that becomes a little trickier, and then you really have to think about how you are developing this thing, and you may have to change your gears a little bit. So that's why it's important for managers to learn about what are the options in the innovation portfolio. So you think about the Nespresso, where they actually created a whole separate company to make the coffee machines, whereas internally they had Nescafe, which has been super successful, and Nespresso turned into a super successful spin-off of that.
Especially if you're launching something that almost is going to hit your sales of your existing products.
Yeah, normally you'd expect to have a little bit of resistance from inside when you have something that's possibly going to cannibalize, as they say, the sales of some other big important part of your company.
So innovation is quite close to disruption, which is the holy grail. We think of the Airbnbs or the Ubers. Yeah. How do you teach that?
Normally think about it from two different points of view. Think about it from the point of view of the entrepreneur or the corporate venture that's creating a disruption in the first place. And there I think we need to understand what are the different sources of disruption. For example, you mentioned Uber, sort of creating a platform in a market where there was no platform before. And then you think about it from the corporate side, how do you react to something like this once another business model or another technology has invaded your space? What do you do to react?
And you may have to change your whole business model. We think about Apple that went from selling devices to making more money now from selling content and apps. And how willing are companies to do that?
Yeah, usually they're not so willing. The further you get away from a incremental product improvement, then that's easy for a company. And then you get toward changing their products, changing their portfolio. Then you get to changing their business model, and that's usually one of the most difficult things for companies to deal with.
Now, just to place your business school in the education hierarchy, you're not an insignificant establishment, are you?
No, actually, EPFl, done École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, so it's one of the national universities of Switzerland. It's generally been considered to be a very highly ranked place. It's known as the best young university under 50 years old for the last several years, and it's generally regarded in the technology space as being one of the top universities in the world. Yeah.
And you don't do full-time MBAs, it kind of works over a weekend. So does that mean most of your students, they work?
Yes, they're coming on Fridays and Saturdays every 2 weeks for 16 months.
And does that mean that you utilize a lot of online learning, blended learning?
Yeah, we don't want to waste their time, so we want to level them up a little bit with some combination of blended learning. So they might look at some online component to get them the basics, and when they come to class, more hands-on. And so they're all more or less at the same level, and they can be, straight away learning more. Active learning.
And generally, how do you think that the delivery of MBA education is going to change over the next few years?
MBAs in general, it's becoming your standard stock MBA is kind of becoming more of a commodity. I think that's something that's changing. There's also this massive, the online component is changing things. So I think that the combination of those two things means there's going to be more hybrid type programs, and I think also that there's going to be more specialized programs like ours, a little bit more focused on the innovation space, and those are going to have their niche, and then the big ones, there's going to be a kind of a lot of competition in that area.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thanks for having me.
And remember to join us next time when we'll be discussing the latest innovations in sustainability and also cybersecurity. Bye-bye for now.